On. Good morning, everybody. First miracle of the day, we are starting on time. Thank you all so much. I am Zach Schron, CEO of St. Leonard Ministries. We at St. Leonard's are committed to supporting the transitions for people who are leaving the carceral system and returning home to their cities, their communities, and their families. Today is a great day, celebrating an important anniversary for St. Leonard's and for our city and our state. St. Andrew's Court, right next door, is a 42-unit permanent supportive housing building for men. It was revolutionary when it opened 25 years ago, and it is revolutionary today. 610 residents and alumni and counting. For 68 years, thank you. For 68 years, St. Leonard's Ministries has provided our unique continuum of housing and holistic supports to men and women impacted by the carceral system, more than 350 last year alone. Our model works, as shown in our recidivism rates being less than 1/4 or 1/2 of state averages for women and for men. We also know it works due to the presence of our alumni, who continue to pay it forward to those following them as mentors, as supporters, possibly as a director of reentry for the city of Chicago. And we are very proud that 40% of our employees, of our permanent employees, are alumni of our programs. St. Andrew's Court provides second stage housing for graduates of our transitional housing programs, and it helps to continue the spirit of community and holistic supports that our men find the success and peace that they all too often have struggled to find. And with this peace and the keys to their own apartment, they can restore themselves and build their new future. Today, we rededicate St. Andrew's Court, and today we rededicate ourselves to fighting the fight with and on behalf of the men and women that we have the privilege to serve. We're honored to be joined today by so many to celebrate this occasion. Our esteemed speakers, our board of directors, donors, funders, supporters, our dedicated and professional staff, our culinary students and team who prepared our pastries today, and finally, and most importantly, our residents and alumni. Please give them a round of applause. Today, we're going to be both looking back and looking forward. It's been a true honor and privilege to know and work alongside our first speaker. He epitomizes all that is good and right about St. Leonard Ministries. Like he does for so many that come through this place, he welcomed me and showed me the ropes when I came here a little over a year ago. Ladies and gentlemen, our longest tenured employee at 23 years and our intake and housing manager, Mr. David Harris.
Welcome, everybody. This is a beautiful day and a beautiful thing. I was at the first ribbon cutting 25 years ago, and I benefited from St. Leonard's Ministries because I'm an alumni of the program. And I just want to say that programs like this, because of the holistic approach that we take, meaning that, mental health, your medical needs, your substance abuse needs, everything is right here on our campus. I enjoy doing this type of work because I like helping people the same way I got the help from St. Leonard's when I got out, because if I had went back to the old neighborhood, I'd probably be dead. So I'm glad to be alive, and I'm glad to be here today. And I just want to say to Mayor Lori Lightfoot, I read a little bit about that, the affordable, I was trying to keep the words right though, you all just passed an ordinance, and the Affordable Requirements Ordinance. And I just wanted to say that if we had an ordinance like that, a certain number of set-asides for people coming home from the carceral system, that would be great as well. And I do know that 20% is going to benefit a lot of us in some ways, but we need more housing. And I want to just leave it at that. This is a beautiful program, and thank you for coming out supporting us. Alderman, you always do, and all the other dignitaries that support us, we need your support and your help. And thank you for coming out.
We are honored to be joined today by a real champion for those impacted by the carceral system. As David mentioned, Mayor Lori Lightfoot knows the importance of safe and secure housing and opportunities for all. She also knows the challenges involved in the very difficult reentry journey. More importantly than knowing it is doing something about it. $13 million in the city's 2022 budget for reentry services, with an emphasis on the resources and breaking barriers for returning residents. And for the first time ever for Chicago, a director of reentry in the mayor's office. As she has shared publicly and demonstrated throughout her life, for her this is both personal and professional. Please join me in welcoming the Mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot.
Well, I'm going to try to get through this without tearing up, but this is very personal to me, and I'll explain why in a moment. But thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the countless dedication of the folks who've come through and stayed around to help the next person that needs the help. Thank you so much, David, but thanks everyone. Thanks to the board for the support. We need to do more of this in our city. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I'd like to begin by congratulating St. Leonard's Ministries on today's rededication, as well as for their 25 years of providing transitional housing for returning residents right here on the west side. I also can't go on without thanking my friend, Alderman Walter Burnett. He is a living embodiment of living your values and making sure that you are creating real, tangible pathways. For too long in city government, he's been a lone champion of the cause of returning residents. And Walter, I hope you feel like you have a friend and an advocate in the fifth floor, because as I said, this is something that's very deeply personal to me. And I want to make sure that we continue to break barriers, not only in funding, but in raising the consciousness of our entire city around the challenges, but also the opportunities, and providing a pathway home for our returning residents. So St. Leonard's Ministries has done phenomenal work to empower returning residents and provide them with a variety of services needed for successful reentry. This includes life skills training, behavioral and physical health care, substance abuse services, workforce development, and of course, safe housing. The latter resource, safe housing, is provided through St. Leonard's transitional housing site at St. Andrew's Court, which we had the benefit of just visiting, which is one of the first public-private sector partnerships that exclusively houses formerly incarcerated men. And upon completing their reentry programming at the Ministries, returning residents have an opportunity to move to St. Andrew's Court, which is a complete with 42 units of housing, 30 of which are subsidized by the Chicago Housing Authority funding. This process was described by one resident as being similar to, quote, the training wheels come off. Is an important part of St. Leonard's Ministry reentry work, as it provides many of the men in the programming with the first apartment that they can call home. Think about that. Many of these folks have been incarcerated for decades and are coming back into tough circumstances, but they get to claim geography under their feet, which gives them a sense of purpose, but also a sense of power over their own lives. That is one of the most powerful reasons why the housing that's here is so incredibly important. Also, the support services. It's not about just building a place for people to live. I've witnessed, as a former prosecutor, as a former defense attorney, many of the people that are coming home left very difficult circumstances, are choosing to turn their lives around, but need that extra support to be able to really make that happen. And that's one of the magical things that happens here through St. Leonard's ministry. It's the holistic approach to making sure that the wraparound services are coupled with the housing that really makes this place such a magical opportunity for the men and women that are able to take advantage of the services. And residents in CHA units can stay as long as they like, ensuring that they have enough time to get back on their feet and begin contributing to their communities and city in a productive and fulfilling way. That time, and we just talked about that, slowing things down. People coming out want to make up for lost time. But the thing that they have to realize is slowing down, taking the time, being focused, addressing the trauma that all of them have experienced in one form or another. That's what giving them time and housing allows them to do. So thanks to this holistic approach, St. Leonard's recidivism rates, as you heard, are significantly lower than the state average. And this is incredible. And I know that their team won't stop until no one goes back into a life that led them to incarceration. The work of St. Leonard's ministry is not only vitally important to Chicago, but as I said, deeply personal to me. Some of you know that one of my brothers, the one that's closest in age to me, spent most of his adult life incarcerated. We kind of lost him from our family when he was in his teenage years. And as you know, the allure of the street can be every bit as addictive as a drug, as a narcotic. And no one could tell him anything for years and years and years. His last stint in prison was 17 years in federal prison. And ironically, with people that I had prosecuted here in Chicago. Talk about that coming full circle and really having a dramatic impact on me. He's been out now about 5 years, but he's 66 with a high school degree and struggles every single day. So I see this from the perspective, of course, first and foremost, as a sister. I see this as a family member. I see it, of course, from my lens as a former federal prosecutor, but also as a defense attorney who helped men come home from wrongful incarceration. There's so much more that we need to be doing as a community to help these young men before they get to that proverbial fork in the road. But when that happens, and there's got to be accountability for the crimes that have been committed, when they serve their time, we have to give them a pathway to stay home, to give them an opportunity to plant real, deep, meaningful roots in a community. It starts with housing, but it doesn't end there. It starts with reaching out and showing them that there is love and support and that they have dignity and that we are willing to do everything that we can to help them successfully transition. I firmly believe that you can't talk about public safety if you do not include in that work a pathway for our returning residents to be able to come home and transition safely and productively so they can go on to really fulfill their God-given potential. And I believe that we have to not only speak our values, but frankly, put our money where our mouth is. So I want to talk to you just briefly about what we have done as an administration to do just that. Step one was making sure that we empowered a reentry coordinator in the mayor's office to ensure that the recommendations of a working group that we put together became real policy and law in our city. And we are lucky that an alumna of this program, Willette Benford, said yes and is leading that work in the mayor's office. Willette, will you just stand and let people recognize you? Step two is making tangible investments. And we've increased the amount of money invested in re-entry centers by $4 million this year. These reentry hubs, located on our south and west sides, provide a one-stop location for returning residents to be linked up, like they are here at St. Leonard's, to health, housing, legal, and workforce supports. To ensure that no returning resident falls through this reinforced social safety net, we are also investing in new models to support their transition back to the city. And also another important investment will happen next year when we will be launching a $6 million pilot to provide a full year of housing support as well as job placement and wraparound services for returning residents. We're following the lead of St. Leonard. We also have to lead by example in city government and looking at opportunities for us to hire returning residents ourselves. I can't wag my finger and cajole the private sector to do their part if we're not doing our part in city government. And so we're going to change around our own hiring practices to make sure that we open up more corridors of opportunity for real substantive employment with benefits for returning residents in our city. That's the least that we can do. And another way that we're leading by example is through our work to ensure equitable language is utilized across city websites and communications so that returning residents are addressed with the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And all of these important initiatives and more are made possible because of the partnerships that we have with people across the city, service providers, faith leaders, and community groups who have partnered with our city and share our commitment to making Chicago more welcoming and supportive place for all of God's children. St. Leonard's, I'm pleased to say, is one such partner. And it means so much to me to be here today to celebrate with you all this 25th anniversary and rededication of a site that has been an important part of the journey for returning residents coming home to our city. Again, I want to thank everybody involved in supporting St. Leonard's, the board members I know who are here. The work and the commitment that you have made makes a tangible difference, and I just want to thank you for everything that you've done to support St. Leonard's. I want to also say to the residents who are here, who I see many have gathered here, stay strong. Stay strong. It's hard, it's tough, but we've got your back. And we are determined to make sure that whatever your needs are, we are going to be here to support you. You may fall, but you're going to fall into the arms of a city that understands your needs, that respects you, and wants you to be successful. So please stay strong, stay confident in yourself, and lean into the supports that are here at St. Leonard's. They are here to help, and their rate of success, I think, speaks for itself. But I am grateful to everything that you've done. I'm grateful for the work and partnership that we will continue to do together. And I just want to say God bless everyone who's here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We have an expression here, St. Leonard's for life. Once you come here, you're part of our community for the long term, and so we are very grateful that you are now part of St. Leonard's for life. Now, St. Leonard's Ministries today is the product of many committed individuals and a strong community of alumni, but I know that we are especially indebted to the compassion and vision of our former longtime Executive Director, Bob Doherty. It's an honor to welcome him back to help us celebrate 25 years and 610 residents and alumni later. Welcome, Bob.
It is a real joy to be here today on the 25th anniversary, the celebration of the 25 years of service. I have to tell you, 25 years ago, we had a dedication of the cornerstone, which I carefully arranged so the cornerstone would be here the day before the celebration, and we found out no cornerstone. Everybody was coming, bishops in the whole world, I thought. So my maintenance person and I walked out into what was a hole in the ground and found a stone that kind of looked like a cornerstone, and it was the surrogate cornerstone. Now that has been lost, but the cornerstone in front perhaps will get some rededication today. Behind it, somewhere in the back, is a time tube that we put in there that many of the staff who were with us at the time signed. Many people put in mementos of one sort or another. So at some point, when people, if they ever have to, take that building down, they'll get a sense of what life was like at that time. Now, Mayor, it would be wonderful if we could use your slogan or your phrase, geography underfoot, because it certainly is true. It's important in people's lives. So 25 years ago, St. Leonard's embarked on a less traveled road, which was permanent housing, apartment style, for men and women getting out of prison. Here and there it had been done, but not full scale. It wouldn't have happened without, I think, the direct input of 3 very important people, but people who maybe are by the wayside now. I want to call them back, some in spirit, some in presence, to celebrate with us today. One such person was Richard Bandemere, who was the program director at St. Leonard's. He was a good human being, and that's what I liked about him. Everything else fell into place. In the late 1990s, almost 30 years ago, St. Leonard's House doubled its population thanks to a grant from the city. We opened the second house. With that, we had 40 men coming through St. Leonard's. Richard would come to my office weekly, sometimes oftener. And can't you see him, David, doing this? And saying, Bob, you got to do something for permanent housing. And I thought, well, yeah, but give us a little, time and prayer and thought. But Richard's constant sense of the needs of residents, the next step process, that it isn't just getting people and bringing them to St. Leonard's because it's unfair. It's bringing them with a guarantee that we would see these, at that time, men, through the next steps in their lives. So with Richard's urging, we decided we had to do something. And it was clear in my mind, but boy, it didn't take shape easily. This less traveled road was not one with a lot of direction signs in it. One of the things we did do that was so beneficial, we partnered with what was then known as Lakefront SRO, now Mercy Lakefront. And a woman by the name of Kitty Cole came one Friday afternoon, and we said, you might be part of this, David. We sat up in the conference room and poured our hearts out to Kitty, trying to tell her what we needed and what we could do. Not that we wanted to grow, but that what the people coming to us really needed. And Kitty listened, but she had a poker face. So we weren't exactly sure what was going to happen. In the end, Lakefront SRO said, yes, we will help you. We will co-develop with you. And the expertise, the talent that they brought us was just amazing. Now, we had these broad stroke things like, yeah, we want a building and we want to watch it, whatever. And then Kitty was wonderful about planning out, well, what are your program needs specifically? What has to be done? So she helped us do that. And then another person who came along was an architect, Dennis Langley of Weiss Langley Weiss. And he listened and listened to us as we, again, poured out our souls of what we wanted, and residents spoke. And he came up with these wonderful, warm units and this beautiful building that just spoke to people, come and live here, this is your home. Once these 3 people had worked their magic, then things just happened. When we opened, we had staffing concerns to take care of. David Harris was right there on the scene with us from the beginning and saw things through. And we had a wonderful director of supportive services, Sister Pat Leonard, an Adrian Dominican sister, who did that job for many years, and David Davis, who was the original administrator there. So it just fell into place. It fell into place because it was meant to be, but through the sharing of so many, many people, through the commitment of the men who live there, through an amazing staff of people that I was pleased to work with. And once the doors opened, the rest, as they say, was history.
Thank you, Bob. We so appreciate the vision and the spirit and really the revolutionary idea that housing should be safe, quality, and affordable for all. We at St. Leonard's are clearly proud of this history, but we're also very proud of the present. We're proud of the present state of our building. 25 years later, it looks great. We're proud of the state of our community. 25 years later, the community of St. Andrew's Court is thriving. This doesn't happen by accident. This happens by skill, dedication, and commitment. It takes nurturance, it takes patience. Please join me in welcoming St. Andrew's Court Site Administrator David Harris, who has helped shepherd this community and helped take care of this building for more than 2 decades. David. Rosa. Rosa. They won't let me forget that one. Sorry, David.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. What I would like to say is that when you see me, I am a product of St. Leonard's Ministries. I came here about 25 years ago, and someone gave me an opportunity, something that St. Leonard's is known for. Mr. Bob Doherty, I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity. He gave me an opportunity to come over to St. Andrew's Court and just to see and fill it out to see if I wanted that position. It wasn't until I took the position on, and after a few years of being there, I come to find out how important it was for housing for us who are coming home. And so I met those challenges, those barriers. When I left St. Leonard's House, I graduated. I had a job, graduated, applied for housing, and was turned down, basically because of my background. And so it made me dedicate myself. And so with the tradition of St. Leonard's House giving individuals opportunities to move forward, to establish something in their lives that is positive, St. Andrew's Court carries on that tradition. So when you look at St. Andrew's Court, it's a building that's dedicated to providing safe, clean, affordable housing for individuals who are coming home that do not have to face the barriers in which society places on us. And for that, I want to thank the partnerships that we have regarding the services that are provided for individuals at St. Andrew's Court. And I want to just have a shout out to Brush. I want to shout out to Haas. I want to shout out to Adler. I'm sorry. Don't kill me, Adler. But I just want to dedicate, and also the dedicated staff that I have the privilege of managing, and guess what? And just the tenants who know that they can come there, they have a place to stay, they're stabilized, and it's all about us now working for them to move forward in their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Rosa. I know. That's fair. One of the key investors in this building and a national leader in supporting housing for justice-involved individuals is the Illinois Housing Development Authority. Please know that they get it. And please know that we at St. Leonard Ministries are very appreciative that they put their money where their mouth is and recently awarded St. Leonard's more than $1.4 million to help renovate our transitional housing buildings. We deeply need it, and I think, Bob, as you mentioned, you put out a vision and then good things happen, and we really appreciate that, and we appreciate Ida. Representing Ida is St. Leonard's friend and Director of Community Affairs, Nikki Picori Fioretti. Nikki, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Governor Pritzker, the Illinois Housing Development Authority Board, our Executive Director, Kristen Faust, and our staff, I would like to thank Executive Director Schrantz and the entire St. Leonard staff for their leadership and advocacy over the last 25 years, as they have provided critical safety nets for some of our most vulnerable residents in Illinois. IDA believes that everyone should have a safe, stable, and affordable home, because where you live affects almost every aspect of your life, whether it's access to jobs and transportation, education and healthcare, and even the food you eat. We also know that housing is fundamental to personal stability, and without it, the consequences can be dire. Over the years, it has been an agency priority to meet the housing and service needs of residents who do not have a place to call home, including those experiencing homelessness, persons living with disabilities, and those who may be inappropriately institutionalized. Systems to better serve these vulnerable populations have improved, and innovative partnerships have been formed. But even with our recent progress, there is still much more work to be done. The housing and service needs of one critical group, those returning to local communities from prisons, has not been effectively addressed and not addressed well enough. In a recent study of reentry issues in Illinois, some glaring takeaways were found. First, Illinois has 28,000 individuals leaving the Department of Corrections each year, and many have little or no financial resources, access to health care or employment, or help when it comes to finding housing in the community. As a result, 40% of these residents will return to prison within 3 years, at a huge cost to taxpayers, not to mention, and more importantly, the disastrous impacts it has on individuals' lives. This is why the Illinois Housing Development Authority has been so grateful and honored to support St. Leonard's Ministries in their critical work to address this crisis and providing a setting where men and women can continue their journeys towards independent, whole lives. IDA funded the construction of St. Andrews Court in 1997, and over the years it has been a consistent model of stability and support as residents return to the community and transform their lives. More recently, in July of this year, as was mentioned, our IDA board approved 3 grants to St. Leonard's totaling $1.4 million to support 56 beds for individuals exiting the criminal justice system through the new Housing for Justice Involved Individuals program. These grants will ensure St. Leonard's housing programs will be affordable and accessible for the long term. These milestones show what is possible when government works, and we are grateful for this public-private partnership on display today. Through St. Leonard's works, we can see that we have the means to do something about this challenge, to divert people from the criminal justice system in the first place and to provide supportive, affordable places for them to live. The time to address the challenge of recidivism and homelessness is now. To this end, this milestone today does not represent an end to our work, but it's another step forward and an inspiring day to help create a city and an entire state where all residents can live safely and affordably in the community of their choice. On behalf of IDA, thank you again for all you do to support affordable housing, and we continue our work in the years ahead. On a personal note, I do want to mention one of my favorite life mantras I came across reading an article today, love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. That's an important mantra, and it's been an honor to be a regular visitor here and touring this facility and being at St. Leonard's many times over the years. And I have to give a shout out to my husband, former Alderman Bob Fioretti. This was in his ward, and he introduced me to this place. And St. Leonard's and the St. Leonard's family has continued to hold a deep place in our heart and will for years to come. Thank you.
St. Leonard's for life. I spoke earlier about the importance of a strong continuum of supports. This takes experience and skill, but it also takes resources. Mass incarceration simply has not and does not work. We at St. Leonard's appreciate that the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, or ICJA, has established the R3 program to help support those harmed by excessive incarceration, economic disinvestment, and violence. This is who we serve. Please join me in welcoming Executive Director and Equity Champion, Delreese Adams.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. As Zach mentioned, and I want to acknowledge all of the other electeds here, Mayor Lightfoot and also Alderman Burnett and Director Benford, as well as Harris. So I actually used to work in this community right across the street in the early 2000s and made lots of referrals to St. Leonard's, and St. Leonard's always answered the call. And then fast forward to COVID, when we were in our most vulnerable state, and the population of returning residents was perhaps a forgotten population. I was at the county at the time, and that was our charge. It was dear to heart, and we wanted to make sure that that population was served. And we had very few providers to call, and we called St. Leonard, and we had some beds available. We were able to place those residents who we were getting out of incarceration due to the COVID and a public health response. So really just want to thank St. Leonard for always answering the call, not just to community, but to the vulnerable population that is returning to our community. Many of you mentioned here that neighbor, we mentioned the word neighbor, and we often look at persons returning to community as other, and they are our brothers, they are our fathers, they are our children. And so we have to have the same dedication that we do to our family members to the population at large. I want to talk a little bit about R3. While R3 offers ample funding for reentry program, ICEJA has identified in the 5 pillars of R3, reentry is perhaps the least grant award. We do not get enough applications for reentry services, and I think that has a lot to do with the stigma over time. A lot of community agencies do the work, but they coin it as something different because historically we have not invested in reentry services. And that has changed under the city leadership, that has changed under the state leadership. Under Lieutenant Governor Stratton, her Justice Equity Office, we prioritize reentry. We prioritize those returning to community from incarceration. We have prioritized R3 supported reentry services expansion to address the many barriers people face as they rejoin their families and communities across Illinois. Our R3 staff are developing new approaches to directly connect with and support reentry services and create a more comprehensive supportive services, working with partners across all lines of government, but most importantly, those on the front line, those who are actually doing the work day to day, doing the incredible connection and engagement with families who are most impacted by our mass incarceration and a lot of our policies that target Black and brown men. As Sammy Davis Jr. once said, you always have 2 choices, your commitment versus your fear. And I have to say today that St. Leonard has always showed up fearless. We know which one you have chosen. We stand in awe of your bravery, your strength, and your commitment and your future. Congratulations to all of you, all of the alumni, all of the past residents who have really poured into the program and have been successful in turning their lives around. And most importantly, thank you to all of you who are here and continue to support St. Leonard and their efforts.
Now, many organizations face local community challenges not wanting affordable housing or other supports close to their homes. It belongs somewhere else, not the next speaker. He has been clear that it should be and is in my neighborhood. He has our back and the backs of our residents and our alumni. Thank you for being our supporter, a mentor to many, and a good friend. Thanks, Alderman Burnett, Jr.
Thank you very much. So being in the church, I should say praise the Lord. So, amen, praise the Lord. To the mayor, to St. Leonard's House, to all of the board members, to all of the other dignitaries that are here, it gives me a great honor and pleasure to be here. I want to, first of all, thank the state for everything that they have done and do for returning citizens. Thank you all very much. You're doing a great job. But I really want to thank the mayor for stepping up. The mayor, you have been tremendous in your efforts to help returning citizens to get back on their feet. You really touch in the heart of the challenges in our community, because when returning residents do good, everybody else do good, right? When returning residents do bad, then bad things happen to everybody else. So I just want to say thank you very much for your commitment, for putting the money up, and for everything you do. And as we were here today, looking at the building, you was talking about, okay, we need to put more of these buildings up in the city. And of course, you can always do it in my ward. I'm open. But I just want to thank God for the opportunity. This was in Bob Fioretti's ward. After it was in my ward, then it got mapped. Then it got mapped into his ward. Then it got mapped back into my ward. And so I had the pleasure of being the alderman at the time, 25 years ago, when this building was built. 25 years ago, if you think about it, nobody wanted to come over here, right? So the building was built. St. Leonard's house, to be honest, was the most beautifulest thing in the neighborhood. St. Andrew's was the newest building in this neighborhood. And I had to tell you, since that time, we have houses being sold in this very neighborhood for almost $1 million. Almost $1 million. So I'm saying that to say housing like this does not hurt a community. Housing like this contributes to a neighborhood. The folks who's buying $1 million homes don't even know that there's returning residents living in that building. But they also, this organization, do an effort on making sure that their residents contribute to the neighborhood. They help people shovel their snow, they mow people's lawns, they clean up in the streets, they make sure that they are contributing to the neighborhood. They help folks who have been incarcerated to become contributing members to society. And I'm so grateful for that. This is a great organization. This building has benefited this community. Buildings like this and buildings that we have had built like this all over the ward have benefited the neighborhoods. There has never been a building in the 27th ward that has brought down people's property values, that have not benefited those neighborhoods. These affordable housing, returning residents housing, all of the housing that we get built help to bring the wards up, the community up. They actually prime the community for everyone else to come in. So I just want to say this is a great building. We need to do more of these all over the city of Chicago, and we need to allow people who are returning home to be able to have a place to stay. And I am so proud of St. Andrew's Court for the contributions that you have made and for proving to society that a building can stand for 25 years and benefit a community. Thank you very much.
Amen, Alderman Burnett. St. Leonard's for life. And last, but certainly not least, is the very first Directory of Reentry for the City of Chicago, Ms. Willette Benford. Being a first is never easy, but very quickly she's making an impact. We thank you for your passion, your advocacy, and your speaking truth. She too is a champion for all, and yes, Willette, we do need a St. Andrew's Court for women moving forward as well. It's on our radar screen. Thank you. Willette Benford.
Good morning, everyone. I heard something up here, and I heard something before that a master is someone that does something with excellence for an extended period of time. And so that is what I think St. Leonard's is today. And I heard Ms. Fioretti say, love thy neighbor. And I'm reminded of the Good Samaritan, when he walked past the person that had fell amongst thieves. The man went down to Jericho and he had fell among thieves, and everyone passed by him. The priest passed by him, and everyone else passed by him. And then he asked, who is my neighbor? It's the one who stopped to help. It's the one who wanted to be bothered with the people that no one else wanted to be bothered with. And that is St. Leonard's. I want to thank Mayor Lightfoot. I want to thank Alderman Burnett, and I want to thank you, Ms. Stell Reese Adams, because you have invested in individuals that only needed a hand up. Not a handout, but a hand up. There's a difference. There is a difference when you provide resources for individuals that are coming back into the community, that will pump gas at the gas station you pump at, that will shop at the same grocery store you shop at, that will go, their children will go to the same schools you go to, your children go to, and to really support individuals coming back into community with holistic supports, not just giving a job, but making sure soft skills are developed. Everything. St. Leonard's provides everything. St. Leonard's and Grace House. I am the director of reentry, but I am also a Grace House alumni. A few years ago, I traveled the same path. I met my first boss at the polls 30 days after I was incarcerated. I volunteered at his office, and 30 days later, he hired me full time. He's sitting right there. He invested. There are people in this room right now that will invest in individuals that come home. You don't need to fear individuals that come home. We need to invest in people. And when we invest in people, we support our communities, we support our society, and what we often do is support the families. Because when an individual is incarcerated, it's not just them, it's their entire families. Women with children, that if given the correct supports, they'll never go back inside. You know, there are some things you ought to be able to say never. I will never, never go back inside. Never. Because of places like St. Leonard's and Grace House that supported me and continue to support me, when I come back, I am welcomed. There are anything that I need. If I needed anything, they are there. So I just want to thank St. Leonard's, and I want to congratulate you all for your 25th anniversary. And I believe that you have 25 years more to go. All right, thank you.
So thank you all so much for being here. The party is just getting started. If you want, after, when we finish right now, you can head over to St. Andrew's Court and check out the amazing building that is looking great at 25. And yes, Willette, it's going to look great another 25 years from now. And we'll do the women's building as well. So thank you all very much. Any members of the media, we will be here if you have any further questions. Thank you all very much. We appreciate your being here to celebrate with us. St. Leonard's for life. Thank you.